Hey people, this is Dolphin Doug from almost sunny Juneau, Alaska, and I'm going to take you on a walk. Today I'm going to answer the question of what makes whale watching in Juneau special. You're not going to see where I'm walking right now if you come whale watching. I've gone a little bit past the Auk Bay Harbor. I've shown that in another video, but I figure you get to see and talk to me as I'm walking down this path, and we'll see if I can keep the conversation going. So this is the Auk Rec campground. It's a place where you can bring your RVs in the summertime. It's closed for the year, and I don't know why it's closed, because it's just not that bad weather, and there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing makes it shut down, but Forest Service has their infinite wisdom. Anyway, this is the right next to the old site of the native community, the Auk tribe of Tlingit Indians. They are Tlingit is T-L-I-N-G-H-T. It's there's still lots of Tlingit around Southeast Alaska, and this is just typical Southeastern Alaska woods this time of year. We don't really get a fall. It's October 15th. The last ship of the season is coming in 3 days from now. There's no tourist ships in today, and it's really quiet, so we've pretty much shut down. But one of the things you do when you're Alaskan, at least I do, and all my kids do, and this is a place my kids used to come quite a bit when they were little. You want to get them out and get them to experience this place and understand it's okay to go off the trail a little bit. Nobody minds. That's what this is for. You know, if you live here, I do this little thing when I say goodbye. I say, I hope you have extra toughs. Those are boots that come up midway up your calves, because all the time you run into mud and wet. But the thing here, look at these beautiful wood right there. These are all hemlocks and spruce. This is what you get to know. I mean, I'm in the business of showing people Alaska. The real key, you're asking about whale watching in Juneau, Alaska. Real key, anywhere you go, Point Louisa, that's a different name than I use, but we'll use that one. The real key is the people. When you come up here, you want to get to meet some people that are just going to show you an alternate way of dealing with life. And that's what I try to do with my people. I try to show them something they wouldn't otherwise know. You know, I might sit here if I was on the trail. Here's some people, so I won't film them. But I might show you that log and the age growth on it. You know, there's all sorts of stuff you can see out here that if you're from Alaska, it all kind of blends in, and my kids have gotten tired of it. Maybe you won't. So, this spot, the natives put the village here because on average, it's got better weather than the rest of the Juneau region. When you go out the road, and this is almost out the road, it gets drier. It's not raining, and it might be raining downtown right now. But it's also got access to food resources. The natives were smart enough to put their villages in the best spots. Now, this is a funny little thing. This tree right here, it's a nothing special tree. I mean, it goes up pretty high up there. All my kids learned how to climb trees from this tree, because the branches used to come down a little bit lower, and they're not so many, and they're all horizontal, and you don't find that very often on southeast trees. Most of the trees, if you look back here, those aren't really climbable by little kids. So I've seen my kids, I've had my whole family, I've got 6 kids, I've seen them all up in that tree, and it's a little bit scary to be looking up there, but that's one of the things you learn how to do as a dad, and not to get stressed by having kids out there. Now, I don't want to say hi to people, so I'm going to step over this way. It's something, you know, I got to learn how to do, and maybe you guys know how to better do than I do. But I don't want to interfere with somebody else's time in the woods because I'm talking. Of course, everybody else is on their phone and talking, but I'm talking to you. And I personally think that's still a little bit weird. Right here. This is a typical view from the shore of what you might see if you were out on a whale watching boat. You've got islands. You've got a couple of buildings. This is the beach here, right back there. That's the native community. See that totem pole right there in the middle? Yeah, I don't think I can zoom in much. Full of heritage. If you'll notice, there are decent sized cobblestones all over this beach. And then you get back to that beach and all of the rocks disappear for a good long stretch. All the way down to about there somewhere. That's the site of the native village. And the reason for that is because this Auk tribe at one point was very powerful. And the Auk were tough people. The whole Tlingit community, they had this system where they could get enough food in 3 months of hard work that they didn't have to work very much the rest of the year. And so what ended up happening is those guys took slaves from another community, because when guys don't have something to do, they end up fighting and bonking each other on the head. And so when the Auk tribe was successful, they had lots of slaves, and you got to keep slaves busy. So they had the slaves haul all of the rocks off and drop them in the deep water. Is that a good thing to do? I don't know, but it gives us a beach. Crazily, because this water is about 38 degrees. It gets colder than that in the winter, but it never freezes. There can be a skim. Wherever the fresh water hits the salt water, it will freeze. And I have seen people standing out on top of salt water, on top of the ice, but they're crazy, and they made it, but it's not a fun thing to do. But it is not that cold or not that warm in the summertime. The water temperature probably doesn't get above 40, particularly on a day like today, because when it's cold up top, the water's cold, the water can mix. You don't get a warm layer at the top. My wife and 2 daughters, particularly my 2 daughters, swam here every day for a month. And it's 40-degree water. And they stayed in for almost 10 minutes or sometimes 20 minutes. These are cute little grebes. Anyway, that's what you do when you're in Alaska. My kids have run up and down this beach. Yeah, you twist your ankles when you're on these rocks. But that's what life is about. And that's an airplane taking off from our airport. Let's walk out the rest of the way to Point Louisa. Now, this is actually really good herb forage. There are some useful things here you wouldn't find in other places that I've seen. One of them is yarrow. I don't pretend to be an expert on that stuff. It's well past season, but there we go. See here, if I had extra tufts, I'd be walking right through the trail. Unfortunately, I left the house without them. So, whale watching in Southeast Alaska. How does this fit in? Well, this experience of being on an immersive trail with a guy like me is what I think you want with the whales. Yes, you want to see those whales. Yes, charismatic megafauna is just, it grabs you. And the whales are spectacular. But the thing you remember at the end of the trip is not the whales, it's the people. So, as you try to figure out what you're trying to do, you have lots of different options. On your cruise ship is going to be a naturalist. That's fantastic. I've known a lot of them. Some of them have been there as long or longer than I have. Not many. When you get old, that's what happens. Suck the marrow out of what they know. Learn from them. Pay attention to them. They'll give you great advice on how to have a wonderful time. A lot of people in Alaska are up here and they don't have much time. Now, to be an Alaskan, you just have to live here. A lot of the tour guides don't spend the winters up here. And if you spend one winter up here and then you go live south, go down south and you go to Hawaii in the wintertime, that just means you're smart Alaskan. That's what our whales do. So shoot, a friend of mine is just going down to Mexico, one of my skippers. So I got no problem with you. Alaskans have no problem with you going outside some of the time. But when you got somebody who's lived up here for at least one winter, so you can certainly do the same thing. We don't have any sense of you got to live here year round. That's just silly. Of course, I've got kids and they're still in school, so I do live here year round, although I travel whenever I can. I've been to all the continents. But the point is, it's the people you meet that's going to make the difference in your tour, that you're going to say, that was fun. Oh, look at that. Isn't that just glorious? Look at that little thing. Look at that. 'Tis the season. Yeah, see, this is the great thing about Alaska. You might have bears that'll kill you. Could kill you. But you don't have to worry too much about other poisonous stuff and venomous stuff and stuff like that. Yeah, I could break and fall and break my legs, but I wouldn't die out here. Beautiful. Now this is, sorry, I'm not very good with the camera angles. And I'm already zoomed all the way in, so I need to back off. But that's a sea duck. And I'm sorry if I've done a bad job of this. I'm not the best photographer at this stuff. But here I am, I'm on this point. This is Point Louisa. It's on the outer point that protects the Auk Native tribe. And virtually the entire whale watching fleet is gonna go between this point that's on the mainland and that island right there. They're gonna go out this way and see whales. They might go on the other side of that island, but this is the access to Auk Bay. Now I've pulled all my boats out of the water for the season. It's just the quality of the whale watching goes way down. The last ships are only coming in, so you can only get one trip in on 2 separate days, and it's just not right to my crew to hold them around, and I would just have to pay them for the whole week for just 2 trips. That just didn't seem right. And I got my boats put away, and it all depends on the weather. If they get great weather and run those trips, and they were lucky. If they get bad weather, then, well, that's just the cost of doing business. So, whale watching in Juneau. Why should you do it? It's the people. It's the people, it's the people, it's the people. We have fantastic whales. Every trip's not the same. We can't guarantee what you're going to see. You can see them feeding up here, which is fantastic. If you go to Hawaii, and an awful lot of people that come see whales up here have seen whales in Hawaii or some other place. It all blurs. It doesn't blur together. It fills in pieces of the puzzle. You want to see them feed here in Juneau. Now, one of my competitors has 7 150 passenger boats. They're nice, comfortable, large, smooth catamarans. You can walk around them as they're going full speed. They're good for people that are worried about rough water because of all of the whale watching boats, they'll be the smoothest. They are not the cheapest. They are sold on board. That's Allen Marine, and they have contracts with all the major cruise lines. They're a good company, and they've got these big boats, and they generally have well-trained naturalists, and I have gone out on their boats and had a good time if you want that big boat experience. I looked at it, when I started this business in '94, I didn't quite envision that large of a boat would be appealing to people. I didn't envision that 1/3 of the people that come to Alaska might want to go whale watching. Actually, when I started, I had 2 6-passenger boats, and I didn't even know whales were a possibility. I knew they existed, but they're kind of like mythical unicorns. And so we had to come up with the idea that whales really could be found day after day after day, and we could offer a whale watch, which we did starting in June of my first year of 1994. Allen Marine's got the majority of the business. I'm a tiny slice of the pie. That's what happens. But I started with those 2 6-passenger boats, and on a prayer of having more business, I built an 18-passenger boat. I ended up with 2 of those, and then I went to a 30-passenger boat. When the Coast Guard said I couldn't build another 30-passenger boat, I built a 42-passenger boat. Then I bought a competitor out. He had a 30-passenger boat and a 49-passenger boat, and then I built 2 more 30-passenger boats. It's a long story, but I have decided that for the quality of my tours, for being able to come out, get out to where the whales are, get back on a timely basis, even when it's pretty rough, to be able to be comfortable, but at the same time, a 6-passenger boat is too small. A 18-passenger boat sounds really, really good, but it works wonderfully with 18 folks on it. But we've got a lot of people that want to go see whales, and we've found the quality of the trip between 18 and 30 is virtually identical. But with our 42-passenger boat and our 49-passenger boat, we said no. We bumped it back, and we generally don't run those boats with more than 36 people unless they know each other. So that's just my way of looking at the business. I don't want to run 49-passenger boats. I don't want to run 150-passenger boats. They exist. If that's what you want, they're out here. A bunch of my competitors, they used to sell our tour, and then they realized that we took really good care of them, but they both built their own boats. Most of them have settled on a 49-passenger catamaran. They're good boats. One of the things that bothers me, that I'll just say up front, is that Allen Marine, actually, and us, we both independently came up with the idea that we should use water jet propulsion. And Allen Marine has stuck with that with their much bigger boats, and we have. Because as I realized, if you ever see a whale with a prop scar, it hurts me deep inside. So all of my other competitors have gone to outboards, sometimes 4 outboards on the back. They burn a lot more fuel, but they're cheap and they're easy to repair when there are problems. There are advantages and disadvantages to everything. To me, I don't want one of my boats. I just can't imagine the challenge of one of my boats actually hitting a whale and leaving a scar. And if you Google whale scars, you're going to see prop marks all over the place. It's manatees, it's marine mammals in general. Yes, you're supposed to put your boat in idle, but we have had fishing boats here that have slammed into whales, hurt the whales. That's from stupidity. They drive right through past some whale watching boats. You can't always get everybody to pay attention to what they should and shouldn't be doing. But it's just one of these things that's eventually going to happen. It happens everywhere. And so we've decided our whole fleet is whale friendly. Allen Marine, I don't know their logic. As far as I know, they have one scout boat, I believe, that's outboard, but everything else is whale friendly. To me, if that makes a difference to you, you ought to consider your decisions. Now, my competitors, many of them, as they were starting, they bought jet-built boats because they liked the design of the boat that we built, but then they switched to these catamarans, which aren't amenable with jets. So there you go. As far as the duration of the tour, almost all of the tours are 2 to 3 hours long, depending on the speed of the boat and the ability of the skipper to find them. There are 6-passenger boats that go out whale watching. There's a luxury tour outfit that has 10-passenger boats. Really, what's going to make the biggest difference to you is whether you get along with that crew. And 3/4 of the crew easily are wonderful. That's your challenge. You're going to want to try to find the right people. Of course, you're looking for a whale watching tour. You're looking to do something that just hits that bucket list item. But at the same time, I would bet the memories you're going to have are going to be from that crew. My daughter, she just went off to go live in, oh my goodness, I'm showing my ignorance. She went to New York City, and it wasn't the Bronx. It was one of those neighborhoods. It's the other one, not Manhattan. Anyway, she's getting an apartment with a college friend. That's Raven. I'm proud of her. But she's actually going to go visit with one of her passengers who just happened, they made a connection during the summer. So I think that's wonderful. I hope you come up here. I want you to have a great time. I want you to enjoy your whole Alaska experience so that you can just love Alaska as much as I do. I was brought up here by my dad in 1980. We never came to Juneau. He hauled us around in an old Airstream trailer. We had lots of adventures and interests. As a consequence, my brother came up and moved up to Fairbanks. My sister came up and moved up to Fairbanks. And I came up and moved in Juneau. Both of them have gone, and I've stuck it out. Stay warm and dry, and I hope you have extra tufts.